Hello, we are here live at BUNN in the BUNN Beverage Technology Center, and right here next to me is our director of the BUNN Beverage Technology Center, aka Brewmaster, aka Dr. Brew, better known as Randy Pope around here. My name is Nicole DuPont. I'm the social media coordinator here at BUNN, and this is
Brandy Cook, and I am the consumer marketing specialist for BUNN at Home division.
And we are getting up close and personal today with Randy and just kind of asking him some questions so that way you can ask him questions later on. So Randy, what exactly is a brewmaster?
Well, Nicole, it comes down to really trying to find different and better ways to brew coffee every day. Just continuing to experiment and enjoying the beverage.
So does that mean you drink coffee all day long or just when you're here?
It'd be a great job if you could get it to just drink coffee all day. But there is a lot of that involved. It comes down to working with customer projects and different prototype machines just to make sure we're on target with standards as they are now, as well as what the customer really wants in the final cup, because it's all about the cup.
So Randy, how did you get to become Dr. Brew?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I basically volunteered for this job. And just basically showed the ambition and the passion to figure out how can we brew better today, how can we make something different for tomorrow.
Awesome.
So exactly how long have you been with BUNN?
Right now a little over 34 years.
So what was your first job at BUNN?
First job I spent here was a day of baling cardboard and corrugated. Basically we've been recycling that long at BUNN, and my job was to pick up all the loose corrugated and cardboard and bale it into bales and put it on the semi-trucks.
So way different today than what your first job was.
Yeah, things have changed.
So going into today then, what is your typical day like as a brewmaster?
Basically typical day is just get in, open up email, find out what's going on, look at my project list of what different customer products we have to work with, and setting up the piece of equipment that we're going to brew that coffee with, and just go through the basic coffee test of find out what grind size is, how much water volume they want over it, and do soluble tests to find out where we're at on target.
Now I'm sure this probably isn't as important, but I hear a lot of people come in here because you brew really good coffee. So is that part of your typical day, is brewing great coffee for the lucky few around here?
It is. With the opportunity to have a lot of different coffees in here, you don't get bored with one particular blend or flavor of coffee or single origin, because we get coffees from all over. And I do tend to brew my coffee a little stronger than the average Joe, so to speak. So it ends up that I do have a coffee clique. There's probably 25 places to brew
coffee clique
that just come in here to get coffee. So.
I like it.
How did you get all this coffee knowledge?
Basically reading books, studying different tech manuals, and from day one, 34 some years ago, it's just been all about the cup. So you just continue to find out different ways of, how do you brew coffee, what acts different with different waters, what acts different with a different grind, what acts different with a different roast, and just have fun with it, make it play rather than work.
So I hear you've been to Origin. Did that give you a greater appreciation for your coffee knowledge and the Ambassador? It
certainly does. I look at it as being from the equipment side, we have the last opportunity to really mess up all the passion and effort that went into producing great beans. At Origin, to meet some of the farmers, some of the pickers, some of the people actually working in the nursery, actually working with the plants from a seedling up to time to go into the field, that they have to plan their lives at least 5-6 years out to be able to get a crop off of a new growth of trees. So it's amazing what it takes to produce a cup of coffee.
So it gave you a pretty big appreciation for it then, just seeing it, that whole process of it.
It does. I mean, some people will, complain right now about the high price of coffee, but if they were on the seed side at Origin, they wouldn't complain at all.
Gotcha. So what got you to drink coffee in the first place? Do you remember, was it someone in your family turned you on to it? Did you just want the caffeine? What was it?
Long before we thought about caffeine, my mom had worked here, and she retired about 10 years ago, had worked here for 35 years.
We learned.
So I kind of just followed her to work. So it just, it ended up being easy.
That's very cool.
So how many cups do you drink in a typical day?
I would
Or is
say
it just like a tasting thing, or is it like...
it's a little of both. I probably consume easily 5 to 6 cups a day plus tastings, where you're just taking a sample sip to see if
Right.
different volumes taste the same and so forth out of the same brewer.
So drinking all this different coffee, could you describe your favorite cup of coffee to us?
I think my favorite cup of coffee is probably something in a medium roast, something that's full-bodied, has a lot of sweetness as well as a nice acidic punch at the end, so it has a lot of crispness.
Sounds good to me. So how many coffee brewers do you have in your house? Because looking around here, although you can't see this, there's quite a few in the brew lab here. So how many do you have at home?
Currently there's one. It's a Model A10 that I've had since 1978. And it still brews coffee every day. We use it to brew iced tea in the evenings. And there's probably been up to 3 on the counter at any one time between prototypes I take home or pod brewers or something like that.
Sure.
Just to try something different with the family.
Alrighty.
Built to last.
I was going to say 78. My math's not good. So,
It's about 33 years ago.
So do you have a favorite coffee memory, though?
Boy, those are hard to kind of put in because it's been such a fast-paced, 34 years. It goes by so quickly, and you meet so many great people in the industry from origin all the way through to professionals in the industry. It's hard to pick just one.
Understandable.
Yes. So if you're out and you've experienced, or even here for that matter, you've experienced just a bad cup of coffee, and it might not be just, maybe not just for your palate, but everybody who's around you is like, oh my gosh, this is bad. What do you do to go about, like, let's fix this?
Well, there's several ways to what you might call a bad cup of coffee.
Right.
If it's a poor quality of blend or coffee bean in itself, you can brew it perfectly. It's still a bad cup of coffee.
Right.
But you can certainly take a great bean from pick any specific origin that you like and really mess it up in the brewing process. So if you had a quality bean and something didn't come out right, you go back to the basics of time, temperature, and turbulence. Were you on the coffee grind for the right time with the right grind? Was the temperature right on the brewer? Was the time too long? Were the turbulence, the spray head not delivering the water at the right rate, creating the mixing action in the funnel? And basically just go back to basics and say, okay, which one of these went wrong? Because I knew I started with great coffee.
Right. We'll have to put some tips out on Dr. Brew for people, for little, what they do to fix a bad cup of coffee.
Now, if coffee wasn't available, though, what would be your beverage of choice after coffee?
Water.
Water?
Water. And there's probably a good reason for that. Even in the great cups of coffee, only about 1 to 2% of what we love and enjoy of that beverage is coffee. The rest of it's water.
Right.
So, I get my caffeine, and generally at lunch it's water. You got to detox it.
Yeah. Very true. So, coffee obviously is a huge passion for you, but outside of coffee, what's Dr. Brew's, what's Randy Pope's passion?
Really, it's running the countryside across our great country in an old antique car.
Really?
We have several of them, and usually summer vacation is somewhere out across the United States, riding around in an antique car, or if we're not doing that, we're headed off to 1 or 2 different NASCAR races a year that we can get to and just enjoy time out.
So what's your favorite antique car?
Currently, most of mine are 64 Ford Falcons.
All right. Very interesting.
So you kind of have like this big spotlight of being Dr. Brew, though. So do the people, when you go to these NASCAR races, do they know who you are?
They don't have a clue, and that's a good thing. But you can usually, all the other campsites may have a particular smell or aroma going on with the cookers and so forth. You can always smell a great cup of coffee at our motorhome.
So does that pull people in still?
We've had a few that stopped. A couple years ago, we had one of the camera crews down in Talladega stop and shoot the intro to one of their shows, having a cup of coffee at our motorhome. So.
That is fascinating.
Cool.
So let's leave our viewers with one piece of advice. What would you give our viewers? One piece of advice just about coffee, brewing, anything in general. Something from Dr. Brew.
I think the best advice is experiment. If today you aren't really enjoying your coffee or you want to try something different, I won't say change blends today, but change the way you brew it. Whether you try one of the hand pour methods, something different than the regular brewer you're using, and just experiment with time, with temperature of water, and just enjoy what you're doing. And like I say, just tweak, add an extra scoop.
Right.
You know, in these times, everybody wants to pinch a scoop out of the funnel and say, I want to save money. And you'll just end up brewing weak and bitter coffee. So it's time to add back and enjoy that one little pleasure we have as coffee every day.
I agree. I agree. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to check out Dr. Brew's blog, deardrbrew.com. And if you have a question for him, please feel free to ask him. Thanks again.